Hi guys, so in this video we're going to go through a very quick look at rheumatology specific questions that you would ask in your subjective exam if you were suspecting that there was an inflammatory part of a condition. Really important to look at rheumatology conditions as well as sinister pathology, not to miss anything out, because it can make a huge difference in someone's care if you can catch these things early. And certainly the other thing you can do is safety net if someone's kind of borderline and you're not quite sure. Paul Kerwin, who is a physiotherapist, I think in the UK, came up with a really good mnemonic called Screendom, and each letter represents a different question or topic that you would ask or think about with a patient if you're suspecting a rheumatological disorder. So we're going to go through those now, and these are the main ones that I would try to remember in your subjective exam. This obviously isn't the only thing you can ask, and there are other things you may ask with rheumatology specific conditions, but this is definitely one that is a really useful start. So first one would be skin conditions like psoriasis. So that's a good question to ask patients. The first C would be colitis, Crohn's and IBS. So if the patient has a history of these or if they've got close familial links with that, and that relates to the next one, which is R for relatives. So if there's rheumatology conditions within the family and immediate family, that would be a flag that something could be going on. Whether they've had any enthesitis, so tendon problems, if they've had Achilles tendinopathy or patellar tendinopathy, particularly if they've got bilateral problems, and also if they have not been responding to treatment, that would be a really important thing to think about. We also want to think about early morning stiffness over 45 minutes. We know that with rheumatology conditions, there are conditions that feel quite stiff in the mornings and tend to be much more stiff and for longer than your classic osteoarthritic patients or patients with other conditions. We want to think about the nails as well. There's often some pitting or some detachment from the nail bed and thickening of the nails in rheumatology patients, so we want to look at that. And we also want to just look generally at the fingers and toes for dactylitis, so swelling of the fingers, sausage-like swelling of the fingers and toes. Also looking out for red, hot, swollen, painful multi-joints in the fingers and hands, and you can do squeeze tests as well, where you just squeeze the hand or the foot. Plenty of YouTube videos on that which show you how to do the squeeze test, which would be a significant indicator there was some rheumatology issues going on. Also want to think about the eyes, so uveitis, irritation of the eyes, asking about whether they've had any blurred vision, any redness in the eyes recently or in the past. And then we want to think about movement and medication response. So with rheumatology conditions, you should have a positive response to anti-inflammatories and also to movement. So if someone is getting better or has better symptoms when they're taking anti-inflammatories and when they're moving more and actually worse at rest, then again, this is something we want to think about. Normally with mechanical issues, you would imagine that someone would have more problems when they are doing things because they're loading the joint or loading the tissues that are an issue. Whereas with rheumatology conditions, we know that's worse when they don't do those things. Also, at night times, in the latter part of the night, because they've been in bed for a long time, and also because the inflammatory chemicals tend to be, inflammatory soup as it's called, in the body tends to be heightened at 2-3 in the morning. That's when they'll often wake up and have symptoms, specifically that latter part of the night. A really good tool that you can use for these conditions is the spade tool, and that tool essentially is a website that you can go on to. I've put the link in the video here on the presentation, and you can then type in, or you can they ask you questions, basically tick boxes. You just click on the different boxes for questions that you've asked your patient, and then it will tell you how likely or how much you should be worried about a rheumatology condition in terms of should you be referring on, should you be waiting and watching, or actually is it unlikely at this stage that they need any further investigations. And that's quite a good tool to use, and it can be done with the patient in real time. So really useful. I think, as I said at the start of the video, rheumatology conditions are, especially if you're catching them within the first year of symptoms, then you can have a massive impact, because when they go on disease-modifying medication, it can cause a massive reduction in the erosion of the joints if it's a really aggressive form of inflammatory arthritis of the joints, and that can have a huge impact on their function. So catching these patients early is really, really important and really useful. There may be times when they have some of these things but not all, and then it doesn't quite fit the picture. But they're patients, again, that you would wait and watch. You would make sure that you're aware of it, that you put in your notes, query rheumatology, look out for, etc. And then it just means that when you come back to that patient in the future, you're on the lookout to make sure if they aren't responding to treatment, or if if they start to have other symptoms, that you might be thinking, okay, now I need to get them in to see, to have some blood tests, to have some, further investigations that may confirm or deny those issues, or referring on to a rheumatology consultant. Depends on the pathway of where you work, but I think it's really useful. I'm going to go through in other videos blood tests and what we would look for, and markers in the blood that are useful. Something I'm learning a lot about at the moment as well. I'm certainly no expert in that, and so I want to do a video on that based on the most important things you need to learn, because I want to learn what the most beneficial and easiest things to know and most useful things, I guess, for a physio is what I want to learn. So we'll go through that in another video. Hopefully this has been enjoyable, and I will see you on the next one.